You're listening to Fight Night Extra on talkSPORT 2 with me, Gareth A. Davis, and him, the former world champion turned pundit, and brilliant pundit he is, Barry Jones. Barry, heavyweights. We're going to fire through this because there is so much to talk about. How good is it that we start the year with Tyson Fury against Oleksandr Usyk? But have we seen things from both men? Everyone's talked about the delay. At least it's happening. We get to go to the Ring of Fire. But judging on last performances from both of them, where are we?
Well, if you're only as good as your last fight, then Fury's in trouble. You would say that much. But if we go on the best versus the best version of each other, then you have to say Fury's in with a really good chance. If he can be more motivated, which he will be, I think you can get it right. This is a career-defining fight for him. This will change his whole. They'll always remember in the history of the sport. So he'll have to get it right. And I think at his very, very best, if he can get back to that, who knows? He's very hard to beat, extremely hard to beat, because he's as clever as Usyk.
I'm glad you say legacy. Yeah, I'm glad you say legacy though, Barry, because he always says legacy's not important. That's a bluff as far as I'm concerned. And it's not just legacy. You know this, you've been around long enough in the sport. This is an era-defining fight. 25 years we've waited for an undisputed title. At Holyfield and Lennox Lewis the last time. Lewis is going to hand the belt over, you know. He's going to hand the belt over on the night. He's going to be there, an undisputed title. It means so much, doesn't it?
And how apt is it that, again, it's another former cruiserweight world champion who's moved up to be a heavyweight champion, to give the heavyweight championship the world that stamp of approval. It's to say it's history repeating itself. So you think, you're right, for Fury, this is the fight for him to say, to be mentioned with the greats. Because right now, he talks a good game and he is a fantastic fighter, but still, his body of work is quite shallow compared to other fighters that he's kind of compared himself to, like Lennox Lewis and Muhammad Ali. Their record in depth, strength in depth, is phenomenal. His is not quite there. But Usyk, that win to solidify himself as easily the best, then that puts him in a higher level for the rest of his life. And all the money in the world that he has,
but it also,
what else?
Yeah. But it also closes out that debate about Fury and Joshua. Although, if we just bring in that Joshua performance from Otto Wallin, muscularity, his power and robustness, some combinations in there, clearly the right trainer in Ben Davison, giving him the right armaments. Technically, for 15 minutes, the best busting Joshua we've seen for a long time. And don't you now want to see Joshua and Fury more than ever?
You do. Again, with the heavyweights, I said years ago with the heavyweights, you can recycle a heavyweight till his legs fall off. And I was joking, but it was actually the truth, because you can.
Yeah.
It just goes, one good.
It's true. It is true.
It's with that division more than any other, because either lacking the confidence, Joshua. It's all mental with Joshua. The confidence to throw that jab. He throws that jab with intent. That right hand follows, and he's an explosive fighter again. And he'll build off that in the ring. And that's what he did. That's what he did against Wallin. He built up his confidence. Every round he got more comfortable. And I think now a confident Joshua going into any fight is a dangerous prospect for anybody. I still think. No, you make Fury a bigger favourite, and you make Usyk a favourite again. Again, if they box for a third time. But now you give him a better chance than you ever give him before.
Ditto to Joseph Parker getting back in the frame. He handled the bully, Deontay Wilder. You never let the bully come forward. He nullified his right hand. Wilder was out of sorts. Maybe he's had his day. And he hit him with his overhand right. Brilliant jab, great footwork. Right now, I'd love to know your view on Deontay Wilder, and let's look at who our top six are at the moment.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, because Parker looked like he got to the hill and he was on the slide. Let's not remember, only a few fights ago he didn't struggle, but he looked very lackluster against Jack Massey, so a cruiserweight really. So you tend to think he wouldn't give Wilder too much trouble, but he got the tactics right, because what he did with Wilder is he threw, and then Wilder fires back instantly. That's his natural reaction. And Parker threw, and then he threw in combination straight after he threw a single shot. He would throw in flurries to stop Wilder from working. And you can see Wilder afraid to throw, because he was getting caught when he tried to throw that right hand. And then in the end, he got gun shy and couldn't throw that right hand. And without that right hand, he's nothing. Because technically, he's never been the greatest of fighters. He's been outboxed in most of his fights, but he always finds that equalizer, and he couldn't find it. And that's all down to the tactics of Parker being brave. What Parker is, he's brave. You have to be brave to get close and stay close and willing to throw in that zone where you can get knocked out. And he did it, and it come off. Now all of a sudden, you say he's a dangerous opposition again. Now that one fight can change your career in that division, and now he's teaching on the level there.
Having said that, Barry, you mentioned Jack Massey, but 4 fights, 4 wins in 2023, the most active of the top 10 heavyweights. Clearly, 4 fights, an extraordinary run, really. Right now, for me, still Fury 1, Usyk 2. Some people have Usyk as number 1, but please prove it, Oleksandr, against Tyson. Joshua 3, Zhang 4, Parker 5, Wilder 6, Kabayel 7, Andy Ruiz, Jared Anderson, Frank Sanchez, Makhmudov coming back. I mean, it's a great... Daniel Dubois, hasten to add. You know, he deserves a place. That was a great performance, wasn't it? He showed stones, didn't he?
Oh, Daniel Dubois. Again, the question's always going to be with Daniel Dubois about his courage under fire. But against a Miller, who slow feet, but he has fast hands, and he's big, and he tried to walk you down. And you know, we've seen Joshua in the past. You've seen Dubois in the past. Once he starts to tire, he panics. But he never in that fight. He showed great composure, great structure of his work, and he believed in himself. And it was a really good performance from him. And psychologically, and also his heart. That question about his heart, that's been sort of pushed away now. And I know he's a real force. I think your list there is probably spot on. I do think that Parker takes the place of Wilder now with that dominant performance. Wilder can still be. Listen, Wilder's still got that right hand. If he can hit you, he can hurt you. But we got to start thinking, what did those last two, the second and third fights against Fury, what did they take out of him? And it looks like they maybe took a lot out of him. And if that's the case, and he can't pull the trigger, then he's just a 6'7" punching bag. And I don't want to say that about him, but if that's the case, being that big, tall, like athletic guy, all of a sudden you're a big, tall guy who hasn't got the weight and the strength to absorb those punches against the naturally bigger heavyweights.
Yeah, I mean, it is brilliant. In the space of 3 events in Saudi, we've now got a super league for the heavyweights. At least it feels like that division is being sorted out. But my word, after 9 minutes of Miller and Dubois, Dubois must have felt like he was hitting a giant sofa, because that's what he absorbed, those punches. It wasn't till 7 or 8 rounds. In fact, Dubois' dad gets a lot of stick for being too interventionist, but he was screaming because we had on talkSPORT, we had the ring mics, the corner mics during rounds, and his dad said, effing get in there and throw your hands, going out for the end of the 6th, I think it was. And he turned the corner at that moment in that fight for me. And that was the moment that the boy left the village, rite of passage to being a man in the heavyweight division, in my view.
And I also think that I always say the trainer's only as good as his fighter. And I believe that till the day I die. But a good trainer's worth his weight in gold, and a good fit is most important. And I do think with Don Charles and Dubois, it's a really good fit. He believes in Don Charles. I thought he listened to instructions really well, and he did what he was told right up until the last round. And ironically, he almost got the finish. He almost got the knockout in the last round. But he was so disciplined with his work. Yeah. So he worked away. He knew he had to be busy, but he knew all of a sudden, listen to Don, and know about not getting too greedy in your success. When you land with a big shot, don't go too gung ho and empty the tank. Keep a little bit in. Keep aware that you got a big guy here. You got to systematically beat down, and that's what he did. And in the end, I thought he boxed a flawless display again, and showing that he could keep that stamina for the 12-round distance or the 10-round distance. I think that really puts him back in the limelight.
Well, I got this wrong as well, because he did finish him 8 seconds. I'd forgotten in the moment. He finished him 8 seconds. He got him stopped by the ref, didn't he? With 8 seconds to go. I mean, like you say, it was almost a pure knockout in the end. But final one. Go on. Tell me. No,
I was just going to say, but the thing that he showed the stamina, the commitment to have to keep that energy right up until the very end of the fight, even though he gets the stoppage. He don't. previous fights, he's gassed up by 7 rounds. He's done all the good work, and then he's holding on for dear life. In this fight, his fight management. There you go. His fight management with Don Charles in his ear was fantastic.
Exactly. Absolutely. And if it had gone 12 rounds, he would have got a big knockout stoppage. And I think he's a championship fighter now. Still such a young man as well. Final one, short answer on this. I'll give mine first. Fury and Usyk, I've got this weird feeling are going to have a controversial draw in the first fight. They'll split the belts. They'll fight again at the beginning of the Riyadh season 2024. And I've got a feeling that'll be a draw, and then we'll have to see what happens to that November-October fight again. Joshua's going to fight Hrgovic for the IBF, in my view, and become a 3-time heavyweight champion of the world. That's how I see next year mapping out. Joseph Parker will probably fight someone like Agit Kabayel. That's a great fight as well. Or you could put Zhili Zhang in with Joseph Parker. There's so many great ramifications now for the top 5, 6, 7 in the division. And maybe you throw Deontay Wilder at Francis Ngannou.
Yeah, that's not a bad thing at all. I think this is going to sound crazy what I say here now. I'd like to see Dubois and Zhang. I think it's a dangerous fight. When you think if the Zhang's power could knock Dubois out, but I think Dubois showed a real good structure to his work, and I thought maybe that going into the confidence that he had, if he can do a job on Zhang, who historically tires, he hasn't in the last few fights, but that's because he's dictated the pace. But if Dubois can dictate the pace like he did against Miller, then we'll see what it's like after 6 or 7 rounds if he's still on his feet. I do fancy Fury to get it right against Usyk, and I do think Joshua does box for the IBF title, and I do think he wins it. I do think he becomes a 3-time world champion at the end of the year. All
right then. Let's say then, and Usyk and Fury don't fight twice. Let's say, all right, who's going to be the heavyweight world champion at the end of this year then?
I think there's going to be more than one, unfortunately, and I do think we're going to go back to the future. And it's going to be Fury and Joshua again.
So they've got to fight in early 2025, haven't they? And if we get that for the next 14 months and we get these 7-8 fights we're talking about, no one can blame what has happened with Saudi investment in heavyweight boxing, because we've wanted this for like 2.5 years, really.
Yeah, we have, and again, money talks, and that's fine. That's always been the case, whether it's Saudi, Las Vegas, New York, or London. Money talks, and the money's getting these fighters in the ring to fight each other, and we're getting what we want. Let's be happy.